Okay, so I've written a new piano piece that we're going to look at today and hopefully do a couple of things with. First of all, if you want to learn how to play it, we'll talk about that shortly, and I'll tell you how to get hold of a copy of the score. Also, we're going to use it to learn about how the piano can imitate an orchestra, how we can use the 88 notes of the piano keyboard to imitate almost a full range of orchestral sounds. A little bit of background. A few years ago, I wrote an orchestral piece that was a deliberate imitation of kind of 1980s classic action movie scores in the John Williams style. So think about Star Wars, Indiana Jones especially. We'll listen a bit more to that orchestral version in a moment, but what I did not very long ago was think to myself, I bet I can take that orchestral piece and reduce it, kind of miniaturize it into a piano piece, and that's exactly what I've done. It's called the Lullaby March, and we'll have a listen to it right now. If you want to download the score, by the way, you can find a link to it in the description text right underneath the video, and also included in that PDF you'll find a simplified version of the score. So if what I'm about to play sounds a bit scary and looks a bit difficult for you, you can at least get to grips with an easier version to start with. Let's have a listen. Okay, let's have a think about this orchestral stuff. You'll notice from the annotations in the video just there that a couple of times I said things like think strings or think trumpets, and that might seem a bit weird, but actually it's a really common thing to do, especially when you're writing for the piano, to try to imitate different orchestral sections. And because of the way the piano works, the fact it's a percussive instrument and a melodic instrument and a harmonic instrument, it can do that really easily. And lots of composers have done it. Mozart is a really great example. He very often imitates horns, for example. Yeah, classic kind of horn effect. And we've got something similar here. If you look at the main melody of the Lullaby March, here's my score, neatly taped together. At the start, we've got, and I've kind of deliberately imitated the sound of a trumpet, even to the extent of phrasing it and writing it as if it were a trumpet part. Obviously, it was originally in the orchestral score, but even if I'd just written this as a piano piece, I would probably have done the same thing, kind of put the breathings in. Likewise, when we get to the slightly different section that starts at bar 19, okay, really deliberately stringy, again partly because it was originally written with strings in mind, but you can see how I've split those different parts across the two hands. The stuff that's going on the left hand, this counter melody down here, you can think of as kind of violas and cellos, a kind of rich, dark, deep strings, giving us real kind of heft and depth. While in the right hand, you can think of it as the violins. And And that really actually affects the way you play it, and I think makes you play it better. Often when I'm playing stuff like this, I will kind of have an orchestra in my head. It doesn't work for all piano music, but it can work for some, and you can create really spookily orchestral effects just by doing this kind of thing on the piano. Let's have a listen to a bit more of that original orchestral score, and I'll annotate it so you can sort of pull out some of the things that I'm doing. I can't play you the whole thing because I haven't actually finished it yet. I started it about 3 years ago, but I still haven't got around to finishing it. I will do one of these days, and I promise I'll post it if you want me to. But let's start just by listening to the main theme and the first kind of B section, just to look at the way I originally wrote it in orchestral score. Now let's have a listen to that stringy section that starts at bar 19 in the piano version. So how do you take this really quite strange idea of the piano as an orchestra and use it to improve your own piano playing? Well, actually it's pretty straightforward. The next time you're practicing a piece of piano music, whether it's an improvisation or a written score, just stop and say to yourself, which bits of this could be played by other instruments? Let's say that you're playing a jazz solo, by the way, and you come across a line that goes like this. You might say to yourself, hold on, that could be a saxophone line. So the next time you play it, you kind of have a sax in your head, and that kind of helps you to influence the intonation you use, the articulation, maybe the dynamics and the phrasing, and it gives your playing a surprising amount of extra character. Yeah, just try it and you will see what I mean. Okay, so if you want to learn how to play the Lullaby March for yourself, like I said, you'll find a PDF of the score down in the description text below. And that PDF does also contain an easier version if this version is a bit too challenging for you. Now, as you practice, I want you to think about 5 things. The first one is dynamics. It's called the Lullaby March for a reason, so keep it under control. I started to get a little bit loud in a few places in the performance, but it was never deafening, and most of it is marked P, PP or MP, so we're all about being soft all the way through. That doesn't mean you can't put crescendi in, and that I do that in a few places. Yeah, I kind of exaggerated it there, but notice every time there's a crescendo, it's followed by an immediate soft section. So every time it starts to get loud, every time you get close to waking the baby, yeah, it pulls back. Second thing, and this kind of follows on from talking about dynamics, I really want you to think about the contrasts between the main theme and the middle sections. Okay, so the main theme is quite brassy and bold, even though it's quiet. But then the middle sections are more kind of flowing and reflective. Yeah, I really want that to be noticeable. Yeah, even though it's a march, even though it's kind of gung-ho and energetic, I want there to be plenty of expression in here, like I said, especially in those middle sections. Third thing, the left hand of the main section looks like it ought to be staccato because all of the chords are really short, but hold back from staccato. If you're playing it like this, that's too much, okay? I want just a little bit more push, a tiny bit of extra hold on each note, on each chord rather. Okay, we're just short of being staccato. Number 4, the thing that's really going to kill you here is the fingers. Okay, there's some quite awkward fingerings in several places, so watch out for those, and do pay attention to the fingerings that I've put in. I haven't just done it to torture you or for fun. Yeah, they're deliberately designed to make your job easier. In any section where the fingering looks kind of complicated, focus on that section, focus on that couple of bars, yeah, and really try to get the fingering right, especially in the middle sections where there's quite a lot of finger switching. Finally, in general, really hammer down on the hard bits, okay? A lot of this is actually quite straightforward. Probably the easiest section is the main section. If you look at the simplified version, you'll see that the main section I've pretty much left as is. The real challenges come in the middle section. So what I would do is isolate those, yeah? Get a little bit to grips with the whole thing, but then isolate those middle sections and really practice them. When I was practicing this, and I actually had to practice it quite a lot, I worked on bar 19 to the end pretty exhaustively, okay, entirely separate from the rest of the piece. So really think about taking it to bits, okay, this is one of those pieces where you need to take it to bits, perfecting the individual bits and pieces, and then putting it all together into a polished performance. Okay, have fun with the Lullaby March. Don't forget you can get that PDF down below, and also included in that PDF you'll find some links to various offers that I've got going on for my books and my piano packs. If you've enjoyed the video, remember to like and subscribe, add a comment to say hello, or if you've got any questions, and I'll see you next time.